welcome to Inside number 23, my channel which is all about knitting and sewing and generally living the craftiest life possible. My name is Katie and you can find me on all of the kind of various social medias as Miss Lavelli, and we also have a Ravelry group for this podcast which you can find if you head over to Ravelry and just search Inside number 23 on the groups tab. I'm coming to you as always from Hertfordshire. It's just north of London in the UK where I live with my husband Emrys and the pug puppy Rolly, and I just want to say a huge welcome back to everybody this week. It's so nice to be back with you in February nonetheless. Can you believe that it's February already? It's just it's completely mind-blowing. Like I said, a huge welcome back to anyone who's been here before, and a big hello and welcome to any new viewers. I've noticed that there have been a significant amount of new subscribers recently, so hello, thank you for subscribing, and yeah, thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me today. It's been an eventful week inside number 23. In case you can't tell from my general demeanour and my voice, I'm almost entirely back to full health now, which is just an absolute godsend. I really was incredibly under the weather for the last couple of weeks, and even when I recorded the podcast last week there was still the kind of residual nastiness hanging around, so I feel so much better than I have, and I'm just really happy to be back with you guys. I have quite a lot of fun things to share with you. I have some prize winners, a lot of knitting content, and a little bit of owl post. One thing that you may notice has been lacking somewhat in the last couple of weeks and for quite a long time is my sewing segment. I always start by saying that I'm a sewing podcast, but again, haven't had any time to start any new sewing projects or continue old ones this week. Pretty much just getting back into the swing of things after getting back to work after being off ill for a while, so please bear with me. There will be more sewing in the kind of near future. I have so many projects that I want to get on with. It's just a matter of finding the time and kind of the inclination, because it's been a while. I need to get my mojo back. But yeah, that's kind of what's going on with the sewing. But before we kind of get into all of the main yarny goodness of the podcast, like I said, I have some really exciting stuff to announce right at the beginning, a little bit of administrative stuff to do with some prize winners. So let's just crack on with that straight away, shall we? I have two different prize winners to announce this week, which is just so exciting. The first one is for the shawl pattern that was donated by lovely Mina of the Knitting Expat podcast, and I just want to thank everybody who got involved with this giveaway that I talked about last week. We had nearly 300 entries in that giveaway thread, so Mina, obviously everyone is nuts for your pattern, but yes, the winner of that particular prize, who I drew this morning, was post number 99, and that was Christine, who is FurBendiksen. I'm so sorry if I'm completely mispronouncing that. It's more my handwriting, to be honest, that I can't read, but your name is Christine and you're from Norway, so yay, congratulations. I will be sending your details, your Ravelry name to Mina, and she will be sending a copy of that pattern over to you. So thank you so much again for everyone who took part, and a huge congratulations to Christine for winning the beautiful shawl pattern, which I so badly want to cast on, hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so, fingers crossed, if I can get some of my projects off the needles. But very excitingly, I actually have the first instalment of the year-long Harry Potter KAL prize to announce, the prize for January. I'm so excited. This is the first prize. I closed the January FO thread literally on the last day of January. I think it may have even been February 1st that I closed it, but thank you again to everybody who's been getting involved. There were some beautiful projects in that thread, absolutely stunning, and it's just so lovely to see everybody kind of thinking about Harry Potter, enjoying the books and the films and audiobooks, and just really spreading that love around in the knitting community. It's an incredibly inspirational thread. So the thread is now locked, but the posts are all still up there, so I would recommend having a quick browse through some of the finished objects, because like I said, they're absolutely stunning. But I have drawn a prize, I'm very excited to say. The prize that is going to be won for the January part of the Harry Potter KAL is Crinkle Crinkle Crinkle, this lovely selection of goodies from gorgeous, wonderful Tracy of Nora George. And if you've watched previously, you'll know how big a fan I am of Tracy and everything she does. But this is going to be winging its way to a lucky winner. And that winner is Viki, whose Ravelry name is Viki, V-I-K-I, who is from Canada. So hi Viki, congratulations. Oh my goodness. And Viki posted the most beautiful pair of self-striping socks that were based around Luna, and they were absolutely gorgeous. And so yeah, Viki, a huge congratulations for winning the first installment of this year-long KAL that we are having for Harry Potter. And thank you again to everybody who's getting involved. Viki, please send me a personal message with your postal information. I will get your prize sent out to you as soon as I can. A little disclaimer, I do still have some prize winners that I still haven't posted out parcels to. I have contacted you directly, ladies, but I want to say again, huge apologies that those still haven't found the way to you. Obviously, I've been away on holiday and then I was unwell, and then one of our local post offices managed to close itself down, and it's all a big palaver, but I will be getting all of those out to you, fingers crossed, at some point later this week, and I will obviously notify you once they're on their way. But yes, congratulations Viki, and yay, Harry Potter KAL. A little bit of talk about the Harry Potter KAL, seeing as I've just announced a prize winner for it. It is a year-long KAL, and at the end of each month I will be drawing a prize winner from each perspective month. So for example, once I finish editing this episode, I'm going to be opening a February FO thread. You're each allowed to enter one project per month. They must be Harry Potter themed. It can be knitting, crochet, weaving, spinning, all of that kind of good stuff. Just Harry Potter themed and must involve at least 50 grams worth of yarn. It is one project per person, but you can start those projects at any point during the year and enter them in a month. So for example, if you started a project in February and didn't post it until the FO thread in September, that's absolutely fine, but you can't use the same thing month after month after month, and you can't knit 3 things in 1 month and enter them all in that same FO thread, if that makes sense. Also, if you knit more than 6 Harry Potter themed projects throughout the year, I'm going to be having an extra special prize drawing at the end of the year for anyone who's really committed to the Harry Potter KAL and has churned out a huge amount of Harry Potter themed bits and pieces. So bear that in mind as well. You could stand the chance of winning an extra special prize that I haven't quite decided what that will be yet, but believe me, it will be super exciting and it's just fantastic. Yay! The other KAL that I'm currently hosting is the Andy Satterlong, which is a garment knit along for any of the garments by the designer Andy Satterland, whom I absolutely adore. And again, guys, you've been amazing. The chatter thread has been full of people working on beautiful garments, and we already have some finished objects in the finished object thread. That is running until the end of March, but I'm flexible. If you guys need more time or think that you won't be able to finish by the end of March, rather, we can extend that, but right now it's for the end of March. So those are the 2 KALs that I'm currently running. I am taking part in them myself. I have some fun projects to share with you regarding both of those KALs, but yeah, it's just a very happy time filled with wonderful KALs and wonderful projects. And yeah, thank you to everybody who's been getting involved so far. So that's about it for all the administrative stuff. Let's get started with some proper yarny goodness. I'm going to start off this week with, what am I wearing? And I am wearing an entirely handmade outfit today, which makes me very happy. I'm going to start off with what I'm wearing underneath. This is the second version of the Deer and Doe Robe Bleuet dress that I made to take away to Florida with me last year. It is the Halloween themed fabric, and I'm going to stand up to see if I can kind of show you the fabric of the skirt. So if you can see here, it is Halloween themed. Slightly awkward, but I again altered the pattern to give myself a bit of a Peter Pan collar, and yeah, simples. I've decided that I can wear this dress throughout the year, even though it's Halloween themed, because I'm keeping Halloween in my heart throughout the year. Plus, when I pair it with something like this that covers up the top half of me, it's a little less overwhelming because it's not just constant Halloween pattern from head to toe. So that's what I am wearing, and I absolutely love it. The other thing that I am currently wearing is this sweater, which again is made by me, and you guys are going to get super mad at me because you always do when I wear things that I don't have more details about, but this sweater was one of the first ever projects that I kind of shared on the podcast. I finished it around about Christmas, not last year, the year before, and it is based on a vintage pattern which I have in a book, and this is a proper vintage knitting book. It's about this big, it's hardback, it's like a novel, but it's knitting patterns, and I inherited this book from Emrys's grandmother, along with a couple of other bits of vintage knitting loveliness. And because of that, I can't really tell you exactly where it's from. It's out of print. It's not available anywhere. It's a real lovely, beautiful thing, but I can't therefore share the pattern around. I also very, very heavily modified the pattern. I pretty much just used the stitch pattern, and then after swatching kind of constructed something that I knew would work for me in the round. I steeped the armholes. I knitted the sleeves from the top down into that garment that I had knit. It was very much a kind of Frankensteining them together into something that would work for me, and I absolutely love it. In case you're interested, the pattern that's used to create this motif, which does run across the whole sweater and down the sleeves, it's the same throughout, is literally just a knit 2, purl 2, then a cable, which is an 8-stitch cable, always going the same way, and then again another purl 2 stitch. So that's basically the pattern. It's very, very simple, and I knit this out of Excelana 4-ply, which is a yarn that was kind of created by Susan Crawford because it resembles a lot of vintage weight 2-ply sweater yarns, and she, in her books of A Stitch in Time, all of her vintage kind of inspired knitting patterns require vintage sweater weight yarn, so that's why this was created. But it is actually made by John Arbon in his mills, and it's beautiful. This is in the ruby red colourway, and I really, really, really love this sweater. I haven't worn it as much as I'd want, but that's basically what I'm wearing right now, so hopefully you won't be too mad at me that I can't share more details about this. Like I said, it's a bit of a Franken jumper, but I still absolutely love it. Okay, so moving on from what I'm wearing to what's on my needles, and I do have some fun things to share with you this week. I'm really excited because I had a finished object for you last week, and guys, I have another finished object for you this week. I don't know what's been going on, but the knitting mojo has been strong within me. Perhaps that's why my sewing mojo hasn't been as great, because all I've wanted to do is knit. But I do have another finished object to share with you, and surprise, surprise, it's a pair of socks. Yay! So this is my second pair of socks for 2017. I can't believe that I already have, I mean, technically 3 pairs of socks off the needles, because also I had my Christmas Eve cast on, but I did start those in 2016. But yes, I have these gorgeous socks, and I'm so happy with them. They are, let me tell you a couple of details about these. This is just a simple kind of vanilla sock. 60 stitches. I used the Fish Lips Kiss heel, and then I did 20 rows of rib, 1x1 twisted rib, because I absolutely love that rib. I started toe up. I did these 2 at a time, as is now my current obsession. Thank you, Mina Phillip, for completely inspiring me. But this yarn was very, very kindly gifted to me by lovely Cindy of Mon Sheep Shop. She dyed this specifically for me. The colourway is called Pumpkin Spice Latte, because those of you who have been here for a while will know that I am obsessed with pumpkin spice lattes. It's one of my favourite drinks of all time. And the natural colour, I believe, is just her kind of glitzy base, just with no dye on it whatsoever, and she provided me with a little skein of that in with the parcel of loveliness that she sent me, and I just thought it would be perfect for contrast heels, toes and cuff, because it still has glitter, because yes, there's a lot of spandangle in this. And don't you just love this self-striping? It's really, really interesting because obviously it's slightly irregular stripes. You have these thin strips of the orange, and then you have this beautiful speckling in between, and oh my goodness, I love these. I can't thank you enough, Cindy, for sending me this yarn because it is so beautiful, and I really just adore these socks. I also love that they're kind of unique because the speckling varies from foot to foot, but they're still very much a pair. And I'm very impressed at how the stripes match up almost exactly along the whole sock. There's a little bit of wiggle between some of them, but pretty much the stripes stay very continuous across the whole sock, which is just fantastic. But yay, I love these. So these are going into my box of socks for 2017. I am taking part in the Box of Socks KAL, hosted by lovely, gorgeous Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast and Vool and Vine yarns. But these are also a little entry for myself, my second pair of socks, which are Harry Potter themed, because I'm calling these my pumpkin pasty socks. And of course, pumpkin pasties are a big part of Harry Potter. Pumpkin in general is a big part of Harry Potter. So yeah, that's pretty much how the Harry Potter KAL works. If you can show me how you're kind of basing it on something Harry Potter, then it counts. Doesn't necessarily have to be a colorway or a pattern that was specifically built after Harry Potter. If you can twist it to make it represent something to do with Harry Potter, that's fine with me. I can't wait to wear these. I love them so much. Moving on from one pumpkin themed project to another, and from one KAL to another, because that was obviously a Harry Potter KAL themed project, I'm now going to share with you my two garment projects, which are Andy Satterland themed. Well, they're not Andy Satterland themed, they're Andy Satterland designs. But this is obviously for my Andy Satterlong. Huge fan of Andy Satterland, as I've said many a time before, and I currently have two different garments of hers on my needles. The first one, going from pumpkin to pumpkin, I said I'm a bit pumpkin crazy, is my Pumpkin Spice cardigan, which is using the pattern Blaster by Andy Satterland, and it's using Eden Cottage yarns in their Bowland DK in the autumn colourway. And I showed you last week that I had been working on the first sleeve, and yes, isn't this just the most gorgeous colour you've ever seen? I've actually completed the first sleeve. How beautiful is this? And what is gorgeous is that it has the little eyelet pattern along the cuff of the sleeve in the same way that it has those eyelets in the body of the cardigan. And I have started my second sleeve. So if you can see here, first sleeve, second sleeve. So I'm about, I would say, a third of the way done with the second sleeve here. I have done all of the short row shaping, and I'm now just kind of knitting around and around and around and doing some decreases. I just love this pattern. I must admit, to be honest, I really feel like I should have invested a little bit more time and attention in this pattern this week. I think if I had done, I would have had this pretty much off the needles by now. It's pretty much just a matter of finishing that second sleeve and then doing the neckband and the front button bands of the cardigan, and it will be completely done. I would love for this to be finished this month. I think that would just be, oh, so wonderful. There's so many things I could wear this with, and I love it so much. The yarn is beautiful as well. This is the first time that I've ever used Eden Cottage yarns, but it's so gorgeous. And this colour just, I was never really an orange person until recently, but this kind of orange, this kind of burnt orange just makes my heart so happy. So there it is in all its glory. Doo-doo-doo-doo. It's nice at the moment because I feel like I have a really good balance between garment and sock knitting. In the past, I've always kind of been one or the other rather than both at the same time. But I think that I've got a really nice kind of rhythm moving backwards and forwards between the two. But that's not my only Andy Satterland project that I've been working on, as you'll know if you watched last week's episode. Last week I cast on the Wainthrop cardigan, which is one of Andy's most recent designs, and I have made a little bit of progress on this. I was showing you that I had just been working on the back panel last week. So what I have done now is I have completed the top of the back. It's very curly this, so it's difficult for me to show you, but if you can see, I've done 2 of the lace repeats now in the back, and I have cast on the right front as well. It's amazing, it's beautiful construction for this cardigan, and to be honest, with all of Andy's garments that I've knit, they've always had really interesting construction like this, but I have completed the kind of the right front. What I now need to do is put this onto waste yarn and then cast on the left front, and then once that's done, it's just going to be a matter of knitting backwards and forwards all in one piece, which is just, going to be so gorgeous. I can't wait. But this pattern, as I kind of talked briefly about it last week, it is specifically designed for worsted weight yarn. I decided that I wanted to use blacker yarns for this project because I want to use this for the blacker podcast KAL, I think it's called, but basically it's for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. The Podcaster Lounge is being hosted by Blacker, and if you make a project in their yarn for the KAL, you can get a discount from their stand, and I'm just so excited about going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I really wanted to get involved, so I've been knitting on this, but I've had to do a little bit of finagling with the pattern because I'm using an Aran weight yarn. This is Blacker classic yarn in the Aran weight. It's the pale green colour, and it's a lot heavier than the yarn that was intended for this pattern, so it is coming up slightly different. It's going to be quite a nice thick heavyweight garment when it's done, but oh, I just love it. Look at how cute it is. I was going on last week about how amazing this lace pattern is, but I still hold true to that. I just think it's beautiful, and so I will be getting that left front cast on as soon as possible. To be honest, I think this might take a little bit of a backseat to my blaster cardigan because that's so close to completion now. I really want to kind of power through on that one, and then I can dedicate all of my garment knitting time to this guy, and then hopefully have them both finished by Edinburgh Yarn Festival so I can wear them both on different days. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But I'm still very much in love with both of these patterns, and I'm so enjoying them. And it's nice to be back garment knitting because it's been a while, and once I've got these off the needles, I do have a good couple of other projects that are still languishing that I haven't been working on for a while, so it will mean that I can work on those too. Another project that I did do a little bit of work on this week was my Find Your Fade shawl. I showed that in quite a lot of detail last week, so I'm not actually going to be sharing it with you again this week because I've pretty much just put on maybe 2 or 3 more rows. The rows are quite long now, so that's maybe a little bit of knitting in front of the TV. But if you're interested in looking at the Find Your Fade shawl in more detail, then I have created a little project page for it over on Ravelry. I am trying my best to keep up with project pages. Not everything has one, but I'm trying, guys, to keep everything up to date for you. But also I would check out part 2 of last week's episode where I do show the entire thing in a lot of detail. I do have 2 new projects that I wanted to share with you this week as well. I know I'm kind of a glutton for punishment because I do have a lot of things still on the needles, but I keep casting things on as well. It's a problem, but you know. One of these new projects is, surprise, surprise, a pair of socks, because as you'll know, when you finish a pair of socks, you have to cast on another pair. And last week I showed off a particular colourway of yarn, which is this one. Ooh, isn't it gorgeous? So this is by lovely Molly of A Homespun House, and this was from her second instalment of her Harry Potter yarn club. This colourway is called Leaning Forwards on His Trolley He Broke Into a Heavy Run, which I always, without fail, get wrong when I'm trying to pronounce. But I've had this in my stash for quite a while. I've had it actually caked up for a while because I've been wanting to make socks with it for the longest time. So I thought now was about time, considering it's the year of Harry Potter for me, having my year-long KAL. I thought, why not cast on another pair of Harry Potter socks? And when looking at this colourway, I really thought the only pattern that I wanted to make was the Mercury socks. And if you have been following for a little while, you will know that last year I actually knitted up 2 different versions of the Mercury socks. I knitted up my Toffee Apple version. That was a lovely sock set that I got from Tracy of Nora George. And then for my Christmas Eve cast on, Mary Lynn sent me a beautiful skein of yarn called Sauvage from Purple Lanes, that's her company, and I knit up another pair of Mercury socks for my Christmas Eve cast on. And I'm obsessed with those socks, so I thought I'm going to cast on another pair of Mercury socks using my Homespun House Harry Potter Club yarn. I didn't look at the pattern because I thought I've knit this pair of socks twice now. I'm just gonna knit them. I don't even need to follow the pattern until I need to check on what's going on with the texture. So pretty much what I did was when I'm doing 2 at a time socks, I cast on the cuffs separately as per Mina Phillips' specifications. And I cast on 60 stitches per sock, and then I knit 20 rounds for my cuff. And I know that for the Mercury sock it does involve a kind of 2x2, at least this is what I thought, rib, which isn't my favourite, but I prefer it for the Mercury sock because it fits very well with the lace pattern. So I cast on both my cuffs, did 20 rounds of rib for both of them, and then added them onto 1 needle in order to start working 2 at a time. The problem is that the cuff that's used on the Mercury sock is not a 2x2 rib, it's actually a knit 2 by 1 purl rib, which left me feeling incredibly frustrated because I just cast on 2 cuffs, which for me, and I don't know about you guys, but casting on the cuff is one of the most frustrating parts of knitting a sock for me. It just drives me insane. I find it really boring and I want to do it as quickly as possible so that I can get on to the body of the sock, which I enjoy knitting. So I had a bit of a conundrum. I had 2 cuffs ready to go, but for the pattern that I wanted to use, the Mercury sock, it would mean that the lines of the rib in comparison to the lines of the lace were completely off kilter and it just wouldn't flow nicely. So I had a bit of a strop and a bit of a sulk, I'm not gonna lie. But then I remembered that there was a pattern that I've been wanting to try out recently and that's been released by lovely Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears podcast. And she's recently released a sock pattern called the Prairie Socks. And from what I could remember, that also looked like it had a 2x2 rib along the top. So I looked up the pattern, I bought it anyway because I knew that I'd be wanting to knit on that at some point. And lo and behold, it has a 2x2 rib as opposed by a 2x1. And so I thought, do you know what? I've already got 2 pairs of Mercury socks. I'm going to knit the Prairie socks for this particular yarn because I've been wanting to do them anyway and I still think it will look really lovely with this colourway. So, long story short, I've now cast on the Prairie Socks by Kay Jones. I have very little progress to share so far. As you can see, I've just done a couple of repeats of the textured pattern. It's a paid for pattern, so I won't go into huge detail, but I'll just say it's a texture that involves twisted stitches. It looks like little cables and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm really enjoying it so far. And I just think that they're going to look lovely. And to be honest, it's a little bit nice to be doing a new pattern rather than just the same pattern over and over again. But I know that I will have more Mercury socks in my future because I just love them. I think that they're fantastic. I have one more project to share with you this week. It is again a new project and it's something that I just started this morning. And I really don't know why I've done this to myself. You're all going to think I'm crazy because obviously you've seen that I've got a lot of projects on the needles currently anyway. And this is not something that's going to be finished anytime soon. Let's be honest, it's really not. But I I couldn't resist any longer. Very much like the Find Your Fade shawl that everybody is casting on at the moment. There is a project that seems to be taking the knitting podcasting community by storm, and that is the Crochet Granny Stripe blanket. And after what feels like months of seeing everybody else's projects pop up on Instagram and in other podcasts, I was going through my stash recently, and I have so many mini skeins and kind of ends of skeins of yarn that I've used for other projects. And as much as I love my Cozy Memories blanket, it has been languishing for a while, and I really just wanted something more to be using up those minis because they're kind of taking over right now. It's getting a little bit ridiculous, but I decided, why not try a crochet granny stripe blanket, seeing as everybody else seems to be going nuts for it. And I posted on Instagram a couple of days ago asking what size of hook people used, and thank you to everybody who replied to that thread. I got some really great advice on hook size and stitch count and that type of thing. And I did actually start my granny stripe blanket this morning. It's not very exciting looking right now because this is how it looks. It's like a tapeworm. It's a crochet tapeworm. Oh my goodness, that's horrible, but it really does look like that, doesn't it? Except it's a nice colour. What a horrible example, but I did get a lot of people commenting saying, oh, you just need to get through the initial chain stage, because I'm using the Attic 24 granny stripe pattern, which you can just find by searching that Attic 24 granny stripe in Google, or even if you just search granny stripe crochet pattern, I believe it's one of the first things that comes up in Google. It involves chaining a lot of stitches, then doing a double crochet. I'm really bad at the terminology of this because I'm not a crocheter. I'm a knitter who can crochet, but I really don't know the terminology, so I'm sorry if I'm getting this wrong. But I believe in British terms, I think that you do a double crochet into each part of that chain, and then you start doing your little trebles, which are these kind of shape. If you can see, they're almost like little petal shapes all along. So I did my initial chain and then the trebles. I know that Adrian of the Freakish Lemon podcast was saying that there is a way to do a chainless foundation for this type of a blanket, which basically means that you don't have to chain and then crochet into each individual chain stitch, which can be a pain in the neck. You can do it all at once. But I looked at a couple of tutorials and I really just went, I don't think that's going to work for me because, like I said, I'm not a crocheter. I'm a knitter who occasionally crochets. And so for me, I found that when I did my chain, I'm not a very tight crocheter, so I didn't have very tight stitches. I have quite a loose gauge anyway, and I found it more easy to read the stitches going that way because it's a technique that I'm used to. So I did just chain a whole load of stitches and then crocheted into those, and now I've started doing my little trebles, which is why I've got a tape. But I've done my first row, and as you can see, I got a little bit overexcited when I was chaining. I know that a lot of people have been saying that they've done about 300 stitches. I lost count, but I think I'm probably closer to 400 than 300 because this is really long. But the skein of little mini skein that I've been using, which I've just wound up on the end here. This was sent to me by lovely Tracy of Nora George as a little Christmas gift. I think it was called Mulled Wine or Mulled Spice, this colourway, but I loved it and I thought this would be the perfect start to a crochet granny stripe blanket. So yeah, I have officially fallen down the crochet rabbit hole and I have started doing this. And oh yes, I'm using this is just a really old Clover hook, I believe. It's 3.5mm crochet hook, which is what I was recommended by a lot of people, and it seems to be working out really well for me in terms of the gauge. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing in terms of the yarn that I'm using for this, whether or not I will just kind of keep going until the mini skein that I have is done. But yeah, I have started I don't know whether or not it will be a kind of flash in the pan thing and that I won't be interested in it after a little while, but so far I've had a lot of fun with it. But there are a lot of other projects that I really should be focusing on rather than this one. But yeah, guys, for those of you who were wanting to see more crochet on this podcast, this is probably about as crochet-y as I'm ever going to get because it's not one of my first loves. But yeah. Let's see where this rabbit hole leads, shall we? For my next segment, I am very, very lucky again this week, and I know that this is kind of crazy after all of the lovely things that I shared with you last week, but yet again, I have a little bit of owl pose to share with you. The owls have been visiting me again, and I have a couple of beautiful things to share with you that were sent to me by absolutely wonderful people. Now, not so long ago, I believe it was during Vlogmas this year, I got a lovely message from gorgeous, wonderful Molly of A Homespun House, and I love Molly and everything she does. I know pretty much everybody adores Molly, but she really is a talented lady, and her podcast is wonderful. Her yarn dyeing business is wonderful, and she's, to be honest, one of the first people that I actually purchased specific Harry Potter yarn from, and she is an incredible dyer. But she got in touch and asked if I would be interested in getting her Harry Potter yarn club that she is collaborating with Sucre Miniatures on for January, February and March of this year. And my heart skipped a beat, and I just said, of course, that would be absolutely amazing, and thank you so much. So I actually have the first installment of that Harry Potter yarn club to share with you. So what I'm going to say first and foremost is this is a spoiler warning, guys. I do believe that the majority of you who signed up for this club will have received your yarn by now, but in case you are waiting on the Homespun House yarn club, the Harry Potter yarn club, please look away now. This is a spoiler warning. Hopefully that was subtle enough for you to look away, but yes, I'm now going to be showing off the yarn, so oh my goodness, it's so good. Molly, you just kill me. This is the skein of yarn that was sent to me. Oh my goodness, look at this. This is probably one of the most beautiful yarns that I have ever been sent. It's just glorious. So there is her label, Homespun House, which is so sweet. And this is called Plump Merino Fingering, and it's a combination of 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and this colourway is called Dumbledore's Favourite. And doesn't that just look like a Dumbledore colourway? It's so clever. I love that it has these kind of dusky pinks going into purple indigo with kind of golden colours and brown and burgundy. It's absolutely stunning. And because this yarn club is a collaboration with Sucre Miniatures, you also get a little progress keeper. And I don't know if you can quite see that, but that, my friends, is a sherbet lemon progress keeper. Because obviously in the books the kind of treat of choice for Dumbledore is the sherbet lemon. So I now have a little sherbet lemon progress keeper, and it is amazing. But yes, that was my first instalment from the most recent Harry Potter yarn club from Molly, and I'm not going to lie, you guys, I think I'm going to be casting on some vanilla socks in this today. Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. Oh. Oh. Molly, you just blow my mind with how amazing you are. Honestly, absolutely blow my mind. The second lovely parcel that I received recently was a complete and utter surprise from one of my all-time favourite yarn dyers, who you may be able to guess who they are, considering that I've already name-dropped them about 1,000,000 times in this podcast episode, totally unintentionally. But that was lovely Tracy of Nora George. She sent me some beautiful yarn this week, knowing that I haven't been feeling too well. I think it was supposed to be a little bit of a pick-me-up for that, and also just an expression of love, because you are incredible, Tracy. And She's just one of the most generous ladies that I know, and I think she knew that I would absolutely adore both these colourways because, guys, she sent me 2 skeins of yarn, and oh, my heart, be still my beating heart, they are beautiful. They are 2 colourways from her Mrs. Weasley's Knit Club. Oh my goodness, if you ever get the opportunity to sign up for one of Tracy's clubs, I just think everything she does is done with such care and such skill. You will not be disappointed. But completely out of the blue, she sent me, like I said, 2 of Mrs. Weasley's Knit Club, and this is her 3rd round of the Mrs. Weasley's Club, so it's the 3rd cycle, and she sent me skeins 3.1 and 3.2. So again, if you are, I believe that everyone will have received these as well, but once again, this is going to be a spoiler warning to anyone who hasn't seen this and doesn't want to get spoiled. So guys, spoiler warning! That's never going to get old, it's so funny. But I'm going to show these both to you, and oh my goodness, I love them. So the first one is the round 3.1, and the colourway is Centaur. Oh guys, I mean, can you even handle how beautiful this is? I mean, clearly Tracy is just speaking to my soul with these colourways, because again, we've got my favourite burgundies, but also some really gorgeous kind of dual toned greens, and oh, so gorgeous. I love it. And kind of underneath, I'm going to move the label a little bit, there's some little shots of kind of limey, sour green yellows, which I just adore. I think this colour is stunning, stunning. And then we come to the second one, which equally makes my heart skip a beat. This is 3.2 and it's called Garden Gnome. Oh my goodness. Tracy, you just need to stop because you're so damn talented that this just kills me. Again, I'm going to pull the label down a little bit so I can really show you some of what's going on here. So again, we have all these beautiful greens, there's a bit of natural in there, but can you see there's this grey blue in here, and also a little bit of burgundy, gotta have some burgundy speckle in there. Oh, oh my lord. Just, I love these individually, I do, I adore them individually, but I can totally see them together. I think that they're beautiful, and oh, I just want to eat them, and I just want to like put them under my pillow and have the most glorious dreams because they would speak to me in my dreams. Oh, I'm clearly getting a bit high on the yarn fumes, but basically guys, in case you haven't noticed, Nora George Yarns by Tracy is just one of my favourite yarn dyers of all time, and you will never be disappointed with what she creates. So thank you so much to Tracy, thank you so much to Molly. You guys are just incredible and so generous, and I appreciate it so much. And guys, head over to both of them and show them some love, because they are incredibly talented ladies and I just adore both of them. So love you. Okay guys, so that is it in terms of yarny content this week. It's a little bit shorter I think than last week, considering that literally just a week has gone by and before I'd been away for about a month, so feels a little bit more bite-sized, which is nice. But we are moving on now to my last segment, which is General Waffle, but I'm gonna be handing over to me and my lovely co-host Emrys, because yay, he's joining us again for the podcast. I know that some of you have missed him since the New York Diaries, so I've called upon Emrys to help me out with the final segment of the podcast. So I'm going to hand you over to me and my husband by the magic of video editing, and yeah, I will see you in a little bit. Ooh. Hi guys!
Hello!
Welcome to another instalment of General Waffle.
General Waffle.
And I'm being joined again by Emrys, 2 new members of the podcasting audience. This is my husband, Emrys.
Hello.
He does tend to pop up every now and then on the podcast. like a whack-a-mole. Oh gosh. And that was Rolly, who is
Also here.
and is clearly going to be a bit of a butthead while we're recording. But
he's gone away now.
We'll do the best that we can in the circumstances that we have. But yes, Emrys has very generously said that he will come back on the podcast, so yay!
Rolly's happy as well.
But we wanted to talk about something a little bit different this week. Usually when Emrys comes on, we talk about films and that type of thing. We've done a couple of different things in the past, but this week I thought it would be interesting if we talked about podcasts. You know, this is a podcast, Inside Number 23, but non-knitting and crafty podcasts specifically, because I've been listening to podcasts for quite some time, but recently Emrys has become very interested in listening to podcasts and that type of thing. So we've discovered some really fun and interesting podcasts recently, and I think we have one each that we've been kind of enjoying, and then we have one that we've been enjoying together. So I just thought that might be fun and interesting to talk about other podcasts that are out there in the wonderful podcasting universe.
Why are they called podcasts?
I don't know.
I'm going to look up why they're called podcasts.
Do 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 do.
Podcasting is a form of audio broadcasting on the internet. The reason it became linked with the iPod in name was because people who downloaded the broadcasts or audio shows to listen to them on their iPods.
I never knew that.
That's why they're called podcasts.
But anyway, moving onwards, I thought I would start off by sharing a podcast that I have been absolutely loving recently. And that is a podcast called Lore. And I really feel like I have to be American to pronounce that name properly.
I'm Aaron Mankey.
And this is Lore. It's Lore, which is Lore, but with my accent, Law and Law, which is LAW, sound exactly the same. Anyway, this is completely off topic, but yeah, I really feel like in order to tell you the name properly, I kind of have to be American and pronounce the R.
This is the inner workings of Katie's mind.
Yeah, as you guys do in the States. The bit Lore is, and basically it comes from, I believe, folklore is kind of where the titles come from. Basically, it's about the frightening history behind common folklore, and the tagline of the podcast is sometimes the truth is more frightening than fiction. And those of you who have been watching the podcast, our podcast, for a while will know that we're big horror junkies for various reasons. I have a huge love of kind of gothic horror and the more kind of classic horror genres in literature. More recently, that has turned into a love of horror films. And basically what Lore does is takes these kind of old school folklore, superstition based historical events or places, and it really looks into exactly why we find things frightening. Specifically, it's kind of the fact that our fears, the very primal fears that we experience that are kind of taken advantage of by watching scary films or things that make us jump, have roots in some very old traditions and superstitions that have built up over time. It's not just something that's unique to us as a generation, it's been going on for thousands of years, and I find that type of thing utterly fascinating. If you have any sort of interest in the supernatural and the more kind of horror elements of that, I would really, 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 really recommend this. And to be honest, if you just have an interest in kind of human history, anthropology, that type of thing, I find the entire thing fascinating. Obviously, if you are totally against anything that even errs on the side of horror, this is probably not going to be the podcast for you. It is family friendly in the way that there is no kind of rude language or anything like that.
But the subject material is not maybe something you want to be listening to in the car with your kids.
I would say young children may not find this the type of thing that they would like to listen to. And it's being turned into a TV series.
Yeah.
It's been picked up by Amazon, which is very, very exciting. So later in 2017, there will be, I believe, 10 episodes of Lore have been commissioned for Amazon. Yay!
Yay!
Yay, Lore!
Lore!
Lore. What podcast were you listening to?
So I've been listening to a podcast. It's another American podcast, which is called the Pop Culture Happy Hour, which is brought to you by NPR. For people in this country, NPR is it stands for National Public Radio. It's kind of like an American version of the BBC.
BBC
they have the BBC in America as well, but it's probably the closest thing to that there is out there. So it is Linda Holmes, Stephen Thompson, and Glenn Weldon, who are all journalists that work for NPR, discussing various different pop culture. And they tend to have a guest with them every week. And they will talk about films, they will talk about music, they will talk about TV shows, they will talk about all different kinds of art forms. And I recommend this because it's a nice way to learn about new things that are going on out there in the pop culture world. But they always end with the same segment, which is what's making them happy this week, which is really nice. So even if you're not interested in the main film or other pop culture thing they're talking about, the end is always really interesting because you get lots of little mini recommendations, which is really nice. I would say it's good to hear people talking about things that you like, or a great way to learn about new things in pop culture that are just starting out, and maybe some things to avoid in pop culture that are just starting out.
Yay, so that's Pop Culture Happy Hour.
That's right.
It was through Pop Culture Happy Hour that we discovered our new obsession when it comes to audio podcasts, which initially was Emrys's obsession, which he has now passed on to me.
Shall we tell them what it's called?
Yeah, you tell them.
It's called Hello from the Magic Tavern.
Hello from the Magic Tavern. Ding.
So the basic premise of Hello from the Magic Tavern, it's a fictional podcast.
Fantastical fictional podcast.
Yes, and it is. It has three main actors in it: Arnie Niekamp, Adol Rafai, and what's his name? The third guy, Matt Young. How could I forget that? And the premise is Arnie, who plays a version of himself, has fallen through a magical portal in Chicago behind a Burger King
in the drive-thru.
Yeah, and fallen through a magical portal into the mystical world.
Magical world of Foon.
Which is a world like Narnia or Middle-earth. He has found his way to a tavern, which is called the Vermilion Minotaur. Unfortunately, when he fell through the portal, he had his podcasting equipment with him. So each week he records and sends out a podcast. Because he's still getting a Wi-Fi signal from the Burger King through the portal. Yep. He sends out a podcast every week about his time and what he learns and discovers about the land of Foon with his two co-stars, Chunt, who is a shape-shifting talking badger, and Usador, who is a wizard. The main thing that you need to know about this podcast that kind of defines it and makes it interesting and different is it's entirely improvised. And each week, Arnie and his two co-hosts have on someone else as a guest, and whatever they say becomes part of the world of Foon. So they have to improvise and then maintain the continuity of the world that they create each week. So from the very first episode, they kind of had this basic idea, and then from that, they've grown this entire infrastructure of how the world works, of how the royalty is, of different creatures, of different creatures of different races, different characters were introduced just during conversation, and then those characters have then turned up at a later date in other episodes. So for Emrys and I, coming from an acting and performing background where improvisation is a huge skill set that can be used within that industry, it is utterly fascinating, and it's a complete joy to listen to people who clearly have such a great chemistry with each other and that are so comfortable with each other that this conversation sounds so real and so honest and just flows. But beyond anything else, it is utterly ridiculous, and that is why I absolutely love it. It's one of the most stupid things that I've ever listened to in my entire life, and I can't get enough of it. So there are nearly 100 episodes. This has been running every Monday, pretty much every week for like a year and a half? Nearly 2 years. Nearly 2 years. So give the first episode a listen. If you enjoy that, then you will know very quickly if you are in and if you are ready to commit to listening to all the others.
As we have. One thing that I would say, this is definitely not a family-friendly audio podcast. No. It's made by 3 grown men who are pretending to be a shape-shifting badger and a wizard and a man who has fallen through a magical portal. They don't have many limits, shall we say, in terms of what type of thing that they will talk about. There's a lot of profanity, just a lot of general naughtiness that's discussed, a lot of silly naughtiness as well. I don't think I've ever heard the word butthole used more than in Hello from the Magic Tavern.
You're going to bleep that out?
No. I don't.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't swear on this podcast. That is the first time
on Inside Number 23 that anyone has said the word butthole.
I think if you are interested in improvisational comedy, and you have a love for kind of fantastical genres, so, you know, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, a Harry Potter fan, if you are, even I would say a Star Wars or Star Trek fan, if you're just into the fantasy genres in general, I think that you can get a lot out of it. But I think it's been really lovely that we both get to share it together, because we will literally just listen together and cry with laughter. And it has got a massive fan base, so you may well have heard of it. I don't know, but yeah, it's just brilliant, and so, it's ridiculous.
Hello from the Magic Tavern every Monday. They have also just started a spin-off podcast, which is called Offices and Bosses, which is, if you imagine, for you super geeky fans out there who like playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is from our world, something
into
mystical,
the magical world.
It's kind of like that reverse perspective,
because Foon is obviously a magical world, so their version of Dungeons and Dragons would be Offices and Bosses.
So that is available from howl.fm, and it is a paid for sort of spin-off. But if you like Hello from the Magic Tavern,
you'll like Offices and Bosses.
Yeah, it's just more of that world that you love.
Those are the podcasts that we've been listening to. So in case you need reminding, that was lore from me, or lore from me. That was what was
the NPR Pop Culture Happy Hour from me.
And then hello from the Magic Tavern
from both of us.
But yeah, that is the end of our General Waffle segment for this week. Yeah,
you said it, so we have to do it. General Waffle!
And we better call it a day, because the battery icon is flashing quite viciously at us.
It's a day.
It's a day. You're so funny. So I just want to quickly close up this episode by saying thank you so much for joining me and Emrys again this week. It means so much that you would come and watch this podcast. I know that there are so many other podcasts out there, so I appreciate you coming and spending a little bit of time with me. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up, please like the video, please subscribe, and if you want to be notified every time that a new video is coming up on this channel, you can click the little bell icon down below, and that will send you a notification when I have new videos on this channel. But for now, I hope you all have an amazing week. Get some knitting done, some sewing done, some podcasting listening done. Oh my goodness. Just have an amazing week. I love you all so much, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye!
Bye!
What are you doing? Thank you, dog.